Right.
Con.
All right. Shalom, shalom, Akim. All praises, glory, and honor to
Yahweh,
Yahweh, Ba'ashem,
Ba'ashem, Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Ba'ashem,
Ba'ashem,
Rakakwadash.
Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth, and salutations to the sincere Akim and Aquath and listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Okwai.
And I'm Brother Barak.
And for today's lesson, we kind of just wanted to talk a little bit about men of understanding and having understanding, the importance of having understanding, wisdom. Because when you look at the men, especially in our nation, they don't operate on a level, on a skillful level of having understanding. They don't operate on a high vibration, so to speak. They're very, like the scriptures talk about gross darkness. There's gross darkness amongst our people, right? So, we're just going to talk a little bit about the understanding, having the importance of having it, having wisdom, and so on and so forth, right? Because the scriptures say that the wisdom is the principal thing, right? But our people, they think the principal thing is to actually have things such as money per se,
Con.
or women, right? And they when they have these things, they don't actually operate on a vibration where they essentially know how to navigate, with these things, so to speak. So we're just gonna flow, and how ratisa, how willing that this lesson is edifying, right? So
Con.
I don't know if there's anything you want to bring out or.
um, well,
I,
I'm not know because you mentioned the people think that riches are wisdom.
mm,
I have Matthew 19 and 16. Because
con.
the title is the rich young ruler.
Okay, con.
So Matthew 19 and 16. And behold, one came and said unto him, unto Yahweh, Good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? And he
Mm,
said unto him, Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is Yahweh. But
mm,
if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments. And he said unto him, Which? And then Yahushua named off a bunch of commandments. I'm just going to jump down to, well, I guess, I'll just read it out. Thou shalt do no murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not
mm,
steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Honor
right.
thy father and thy mother. And thou
Mm,
shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And by thy neighbor means other Israelites, other neighboring Israelites, countries,
right. Yeah. If I may
and
add,
nations. Khan.
just before you continue, that those things actually bring forth life and understanding, right? Because you know to essentially navigate, essentially this valley of shadow of death when you apply these certain things, which is a man who has understanding. A lot of our people who don't have this understanding, a lot of our people don't honor their parents. A lot of our people, could, like, especially adultery. They mentioned adultery, right?
Khan.
Like adultery is something that is extremely common within our people because it's heavily perpetuated by a man who doesn't have understanding, being Esau
Khan.
Edom, and that vibration is pushed into music, right? Um, this is an example, just to add to that. Joseph, he was a man of understanding because he understood that it was wickedness when the Pharaoh's wife hit on him and he
Mm-hmm.
fled from her,
Khan.
right? So it just to show you an example of a man who has understanding. Because when you tell people these kinds of things, our people think that, okay, if they were Joseph in that situation, they would have entertained the situation,
Khan.
right? But it shows
Khan.
you when they think like that, there are people who don't have understanding because they have no fear of the Lord. That's really
Khan.
the root of it,
You
right?
hear from most men in the world. I was going to say Jake, but I heard from different men from different multiple nations.
Con.
They'll be like, oh, because they'll talk about going after some woman. I'm like, oh, that woman's taken. No, they're like, oh, who cares, man?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, nah, I don't do that. It's like, oh, that's sure you don't. Oh, that's fine. I'll take it for you, man. Like that's stupid shit like that.
Right, right,
Like
right.
man, I know of people I know in the world that will mess with married women and stuff. They don't care. They'll
Con,
look
con.
for them because like, oh, they have more to lose, so they won't say anything or do it. Like man, just
Right, right,
pure
right.
foolishness.
Right. It
But
shows you they lack
wisdom and
fear.
faith.
Yeah. Con.
Con, yeah.
Um
Matthew 19 and 20, continuing on here.
okay, con.
The young man saith unto him, All these things have I kept from my youth. What lack I? And Yahushua said unto him, If thou wilt be perfect, go and sell that thou hast, and give to the poor, and
Mm,
thou shalt have treasure in heaven. And come
mm,
and follow me. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions.
Right, and that's a hard thing for a lot of our people to do because their treasures, their riches are stored up in a physical place,
Con.
right? Rather than having their treasures, because I think in Matthew, I believe it's the sixth chapter that goes into that.
Mm-hmm.
Having your treasures in heaven, right? Because that's really important in these times because we live in a society where you don't have an abundance of a lot of things per se. You don't have you Israelites have crumbs. Going back to the parable of Lazarus and the rich man, Esau has the fatness of the earth, right? So where is it more advantageous for you to invest in? Do you invest heavily into a kingdom that is slowly passing away? Or do you invest in riches so when you have times of adversity and trouble, the Lord can remember you in those particular times? It's kind of like having money stored away for a rainy day,
Con.
right? That's another benefit and a perk of having wisdom,
Con.
right?
And these people that hold on to the carnal riches are like the Egyptians. They always try to bear themselves with the riches,
Con,
which it just got looted.
con,
It
con,
just got
con,
looted today.
con.
The next verse actually kind of talks about what you were saying, but
Oh, okay, go on, go
Matthew
on.
6:19 and 23. Then said Yahushua unto his disciples, verily I say unto you, that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a
Mm.
rich man to enter into the kingdom of Yahweh.
Con, right? It's I believe it refers to that needle is that it's not an actual needle. To my knowledge, it's that in the ancient times it was kind of like a pathway to for camels to go through, right? And the pathway is kind of like it's fairly narrow, but the point is a rich man who has a lot of external riches has a lot of substance and investments in this world, right? We don't have a lot of investments, so we store up our treasures in heaven, right?
Those are our investments.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Right? I'm not saying don't have um like a job and don't have what's
Con.
it called? Because Jake would hear that and it would think, oh, so what do I do? Right? You're practical, right? So, we're living in a land where we're subject to payments and going back to wisdom again, because the scriptures say that money is a defense,
I was just thinking of
right?
that. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you can
Con.
get it, right? Um, yeah, the scriptures say that money is a defense, so that's the importance of having wisdom because it helps you to defend against certain things, you know, in your particular situation. So there's a practical opponent to having wisdom, right?
And
Um,
that's Ecclesiastes 7:12.
right,
There you go. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense, but the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it.
right. So the importance of having, you have money set aside for a rainy day.
An emergency, or some money saved up
Con,
if you lose your job or something, or you get injured.
right.
Gotta be try to be prepared. Although a lot of Jake are just kind of, well, most people today are living paycheck to paycheck, but you
Mm,
try to have wisdom and set some aside for whatever you need. And that's also why the brotherhood will have some money. They have the what's it called?
like a treasury.
Yeah, we have a treasury just in case
Yeah.
for if a
Con.
brother, something happens to the brother,
Mm,
we can ideally help them out. And
right.
that's
Right.
wisdom as well.
Con. Exactly. But it's still being practical with the resources you have, right?
Con. And you
um.
kind of mentioned Matthew 6:19. I
Okay.
just got
Con.
it, but
Con. Go ahead. Go
lay
ahead.
not, lay not up yourself treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where
Mm,
thieves break through the seal. But kind of like I mentioned with the Egyptians, but
mm.
lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust does corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. And so, because money isn't even real here, man. It's not. There's
That's
nothing
true.
backing it. There's no
That's
gold or
true.
anything behind your money. It's all digital
Con.
and paper.
And that's the way they want to go,
And
right?
they keep pushing that more and more.
Yeah, that's true. And since you mentioned treasure, it's funny. It reminded me because in the city, been having a lot of YNs basically breaking into
Oh, con.
ATMs and jewelry stores, right? That's a phenomenon that's been happening, right? So as things get a lot more tight, and things get a lot more expensive, having a sentiment of wisdom is very, very important. Like you're saying about emergencies, and so on and so forth. And if you're spiritual, also, you can use your physical riches to acquire spiritual riches, right? Because there are moments when, you might encounter situations where, a brother, or I'll just use a brother as an example, might need help. That can help you to acquire spiritual riches,
Um,
right? Don't be like, what's this guy's name? Like Nabal, for example. Like, as a matter of fact, if you had something, let me look for that.
I was gonna say that these YNs are leveling up with the times.
Come on.
As the rules change, they always find new ways to bamboozle money or whatever out of people in general.
Yeah.
But I'll bring out Exodus 31:3 in the meantime. And
Mm,
I filled him with the spirit of Yahweh in wisdom and in understanding and in knowledge and in the manner of workmanship. And
right.
in the NLT it says, I filled him with the spirit of Yahweh, giving him great wisdom, ability, and expertise in all kinds of crafts.
Ooh,
So you want to be
sheesh.
diverse, man. You want to have knowledge and how to go about this world. So
Con, con.
you don't want to be what's that line? You don't want to be something to Satan's devices, ignorant to Satan's devices.
Oh, con. That's
So
true.
so
Con, that's true. Okay, go ahead, go
because
ahead.
a lot of people are just like during the time of the sea hip. Well, sorry, not the
The Seavid?
CVID. Yeah,
Yeah,
during
yeah.
that time, a lot of people were very oblivious. They just
Right.
rolled with the punches and
Mm-hmm.
they got jabbed.
Con.
They
That's
got jabbed with
true.
the punches, man.
Con, true. That's true. That's a good point. That's an excellent point you said that, because that is another importance of having wisdom, because
Um,
you can't dodge a punch you don't see coming,
um,
right? What is having wisdom is, going back into the scriptures, and then wisdom, you know that, okay, as an Israelite, you know that you have enemies, right?
mm,
You then because knowing who you are, you have enemies, and you know how your enemy fights. Your enemy is very, very crafty, and that's one of the things you get with supping with Yahweh, right?
um,
The scriptures say that turn thou, O Jacob, that thou mayest be illuminated. There's nothing wrong with being illuminated in righteousness, so you're aware of these different things that happen upon the planet Earth. There's another precept that says, let me just grab this quick one.
you already have it, or
Yeah, it's
okay?
Sirach chapter 5. As a matter of fact, let me get it in the KJV.
Because yeah, man, that was just a test run. So when the real
Yeah,
thing comes, these people think they're prepared now. They're like, oh, I've seen what Esau can do. I'm prepared now. But
yeah,
they're not, because that was only a test run. Now they're gonna make it. They're gonna force you even more. Because
con,
the same reason people broke back then, they're gonna break again. They're like,
con,
well, I couldn't fly. I had to work.
con.
I had to participate in society,
Right,
right?
right, right.
The same reason they're gonna break. So when it happens, the amount of people I know that said they took one shot because they had to go visit their family or they had to go work or whatever not,
Mm.
same thing's gonna happen. Oh, I got the chip. I had to work, man.
Yeah. Con. Just a quick precept. This is Sirach chapter 5, verse 15. And it says, be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or small. Right? So that's part of, having, wisdom, is that you are well versed in a lot of things. And that's one of the things that King Solomon prayed for. He was very, very well versed in a lot of things. He was able to tell you about multiple, different things, the creeping things. He was able to tell you about, the trees and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, I might get that actually, unless you had something.
I'll just back up to what you're saying there on Daniel 12:3.
Mm,
And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament,
mm,
and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever.
mm.
So the hopeful elect, or going to be
Shine.
just we're leading the way, or the hopeful elect leading the way, man. We're going to shining that bright
Yeah.
because with all that knowledge, because people are always surprised, like, oh, well, how do you know that? Where'd you
Con,
learn that from?
con. Yeah, we have this treasure in earthen vessels, right? That's one of, and the scriptures also say that, wisdom maketh a man's face to shine,
Um,
right? So having that understanding, there's going to be a certain type of glow about you. There's people going to be, you're going to be like a moth drawn to a flame, right? People are going to be drawn to you. But that also shows that, there's two things can either happen with this that phenomena of having light. people are either drawn to you or people
Mm.
don't like you.
Yeah, they're like a vampire. They're like,
Yeah,
you burn them up.
con exactly, because you know your vibration, that light that's emanating off of you exposes their the filthiness in their life.
And then they feel judged.
Yeah, as
They
they
feel
should
judged.
be. Right.
Man. It's that's just a little example. It's kind of like what I mentioned with that one woman. When I
Mm,
was talking about her how she wants to celebrate all these holidays and stuff, and I'm asking her why. She
mm,
didn't really have a reason. She didn't
mm.
saw and she felt judged. She got mad because I asked her
Oh,
questions because she felt judged, which is foolishness. Like, right?
con.
And I was trying to
Oh,
bestow wisdom upon her, which
right,
is
right.
crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, she was probably feeling like, yeah, she was feeling attacked by what you're saying. Wait, hold on. Let me just get a
Con.
quick
And it's funny
precept
because
on
I
that.
didn't even say anything deep.
Yeah.
All I told
You don't have
all,
to.
con,
You
con,
honestly don't
con,
have to, because
con,
it's a light that's emanating off of you,
con, man.
right?
Because all I was saying was the part. Think about what you are participating in and the
Yeah.
spirits it brings onto you, and then you
Yeah.
feel judged. That's
You
all it
see,
took.
but that's what happens. That's what happens when you have understanding, right?
Con,
You
man.
know, just a quick precept just to add to what you're saying. This is John 3:19, and it says, "This is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light,
Mm,
because their deeds were evil. For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest the deeds should be reproved." Right. So she didn't want to like give up the holidays, because you know that is a good thing to her,
con,
right? When it's a lot of these holidays, or all of them I should say, they all have pagan Greco-Roman origins, and they cause nothing but death and decay,
and
right?
when you try to get them to think about it, they realize there's no depth to these holidays. There's
Con,
nothing behind them.
con,
They
con,
did like
con,
so. It's like, why do you celebrate it? Oh well, I don't really celebrate. I just like to chill with my family and stuff. So why are
mm,
you celebrating it then? So
con,
you don't need to say, oh well, I still like it though. And they
mm.
say, well, for what? You just said that there's nothing behind it. So
Right.
they just dance in circles with that foolishness.
And a lot of dudes, if I may ask, also, if I may add, also, they follow into that ways of eating those philosophies, because their woman also partakes in it.
Con,
You know, they don't essentially try and rebuke her and correct her and lead her in a righteous direction. So they're pretty much, you know, as Eve was eaten, you know, and then Adam
con,
ate also,
con,
right? You know, partaking in it. It's the same thing you see with a lot of these Israelite men,
con. They spend their
right?
entire and all their energy trying to please their woman
Con,
until they go
con,
insane, and then they get divorced and half their stuff's taken.
con. Exactly. See, this is the importance of a man having understanding, right? You know, because Adam should have corrected her right then and there, right? But hey, and then that's something that a lot of men don't do, because they don't have it. One, they don't have wisdom, and another thing also, they don't have a mindset of abundance,
Mm,
right? Because if you have a mindset of abundance, riches, and understanding, you know, if you just do the right thing, then you know that, okay, I'm not gonna do this, and I'm not gonna be worried about this one woman only,
con,
right? Because you know, having understanding, we know as Israelite men, we can have more than one woman,
con.
right? So
Why these men are scared of losing these women when there's so many women in the world,
yeah,
man?
exactly.
That you'd rather be held down by a demon and then not enjoy anything. It's held down by a demon and make your spiritual light dim.
Right,
It made no sense.
right. You have something, or
Con. I have Romans. Honestly, this one's longer.
okay,
Let's make shorter, but let's only okay. I have Romans 2:17.
fine.
The title is the Jew is condemned by the law.
Mm,
Behold, thou art called a Jew, and
mm,
retest in the law, and makest thy boast of Yahweh, and knowest his will, and approveth the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law,
mm,
and are confident that thou self are a guide of the blind, and a light of them which are in darkness.
mm,
Right. So that's us trying to attract other Israelites with our brightness.
mm,
Following the scriptures and the law and preaching that as well,
mm.
because they see the order and it just makes sense. It'll click with the other Israelites.
Right.
An instructor of the foolish, because when we were in the world, we were foolish, right? In the
Right,
world, following all those holidays and chasing
right,
after women and like fucking children, right?
right.
An instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which has the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law. Thou therefore which teacheth another, teachest thou not thyself?
Mm,
Thou that preacheth a man should not steal, does not thou steal?
Mm.
So pretty much you want to, live by what you're saying, what you're teaching.
Mm.
You don't want to just speak and then go and do foolishness like Pegasus, man. He's
Cons.
preaching, talking shit to the elders, and then he was doing exactly what he's doing worse than what he was preaching about.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So be just, being an example.
Exactly.
Yeah, just simply put, be an example, right?
I'll read one more line
Oh,
then, because
okay,
pretty
con.
much thou that sayest a man should not commit adultery, dost thou
Mm.
commit adultery? Thou
Mm.
that abhorrest idols, dost thou commit sacrilege?
Hmm. Interesting. So yeah, so essentially somebody who is doing something and then they're doing the complete, well, they're saying something and they're doing the
Con.
complete opposite is what I'm
In
saying.
the NLT it says, you say it is wrong to commit adultery, but you commit adultery. You
Mm.
condemn idolatry, but you use items stolen from pagan temples.
Mm. Mm.
You are so proud of knowing the law, but you dishonor Yahweh by breaking it. Man,
Mm.
con. You have to walk the walk, man. Walk
Yeah,
the
yeah.
walk, talk the talk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Con. And it's very it can be challenging, but it's rewarding too,
Con.
right? To have that because you get more understanding going through certain experiences,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just wanted to add and bring out a quick point because I mentioned some about Solomon, and this is one of the things that he prayed for, right? He didn't pray for riches or anything like that. This is excuse me. This is First Kings 4, and I'll start at 29, and it says, "And Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the children in the east country, and all the wisdom of Egypt, for he was wiser than all men, than Ethan the Ezrahite, and Heman, and Chakol, and Darda, and the sons of Mahal. And his fame was in nations round about, and he spake 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. And he spake of the trees, and of the cedar tree that is in Lebanon, even unto the hyssop that bringeth forth that springeth out of the wall, excuse me. And he spake also of the beast and of the fowl and of the creeping things and the fishes. And there came of all people to hear the wisdom of Solomon from the kings of the earth, from which had heard of his wisdom, right? So that was one of the things in the third chapter that he prayed for. He didn't pray for women, or he didn't pray for a nice
Mm-hmm.
house or anything like that. He prayed for wisdom, and the Lord bestowed it upon him, right? And that is one of the things that adorns a man's face. When you go into the parable of the virgins, the wise and the foolish, the ones that were wise trimmed their lamps. And when you go into that word trim, it refers to the Greek word is kosmeo, which is where you get the word cosmetics from. Wisdom, sorry, cosmetics adorn a woman's face, just like how wisdom adorns a man's face, right? It makes us more appealing, right? That's why people are drawn to you, or drawn to us as a whole, right? That's going to make an elect man very precious in those days, right? Because he's going to be covered and have the spirit of Yahweh Bashim El Shai over him. Because as the scriptures say, a man shall be as in hiding place from the tempest of the wind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a man having wisdom is being able to navigate through these times, so to speak, right? So that's pretty much
Con.
what I had to
Con.
add, unless you had some. You
I
had
have
some?
one more I can bring out here,
Okay,
and
come.
yeah, during those times, people could be in deep darkness. Like they're already in darkness now, but
Yeah,
imagine when they have even less control over everything around them with all this AI stuff that's going on.
con.
But I've Psalms 19 and 14.
Mm,
Let the words of my mouth and pretty much what you're saying here. Let
mm,
the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in the sight of Yahweh, my strength and my redeemer. And
mm,
it's acceptable because it's following his laws and his commandments, and it's the
con,
truth,
con.
and that's how you're going to be that light.
Con. If I may add also, that's what Moses, I think, said in Deuteronomy, because he said, this is your wisdom in your sight of the other nations,
Mm-hmm.
right? So even understanding the importance of keeping the laws to the best of your ability is a level of having wisdom,
Con.
right? To do certain things, not to do certain things, right? That is and then you understand order too. Like something as simple as not eating shellfish. You understand, okay, the
Con.
shellfish is in the ocean to serve as a purpose of keeping the oceans clean, right?
Because wisdom is knowledge and experience, right?
Con.
A lot of these people have the knowledge, but they don't have the application to gain the experience. So they
Con.
know, oh, I shouldn't eat this, but it tastes so good, so I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I shouldn't eat pork, but yo, man, a good roast pork.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see, cause even on I think it was the Passover last year. There's some of these so-called Israelites talking about, man, I love my pork, and they're showing it on the camera and they're chopping it. Like, man,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
foolishness.
Simple. A lot of people are sottish children, right?
They had the knowledge, they had the knowledge, but they don't have the understanding. They always look
Yeah.
for the gray areas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They look for an excuse
Con,
according to
con,
their will,
con,
right? So
so that they can be vain.
yeah, yep, yep, con. But that's pretty much it. Unless you had something else.
No, I thought that's all I got.
Okay.
That's
I
all I
guess we'll
got as
close
well.
up. Hope this lesson, I know we kind of bounced around here and there, but Lord's will, this lesson was edifying. Just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Bashim,
Bashim,
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Bashim,
Bashim,
Rakakadash.
Rakakadash.
Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Till next time, we say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.